Millionaire and the former inmate share a shocking night that reveals a forbidden secret. The storm raged outside, rain hammering the windows of the Crooked Lantern like an army of frenzied war drums. Inside, the bar was alive with a different kind of chaos. The dull roar of voices, clinking glasses, and laughter, barely masking the desperation lurking in every face. In the corner, Alexander Chase, reclusive millionaire and notorious empire builder, nursed a whiskey, his thoughts swirling like the storm outside. His sharp jaw was tense, eyes shadowed by years of guilt and a fortune built on unspoken sins. He was a specter in his own life, cloaked in wealth, yet burdened by dark memories, mistakes stitched into the fabric of his success. The ache in his chest tightened with each sip, a reminder of the past he couldn't shake. He glanced around, the flickering light casting eerie shapes on the walls, dancing like the demons in his mind. Then, as if fate had thrown a match into his drenched world, she walked in. Mia Reynolds, her fiery spirit igniting the room. The former inmate, tired of shadows, she entered the bar like a lightning bolt, drenched and breathless, eyes burning with defiance. A man at the bar scoffed, throwing her a disdainful glance that echoed through the crowd. But Mia, marked by scars and spirit, stood tall, her resolve unyielding. She ordered a drink, her voice firm despite the flutter in her chest. Alexander couldn't help but watch her. There was something magnetic about the way she held herself, fierce yet fragile. A defiance bravely concealing the heartbreak of her past. Soon, their eyes met, and in that fleeting moment, he felt something tug deep inside him. "Another round?" she asked him once she settled 2 seats down. It was a challenge, but her eyes glimmered with curiosity that drew him in. They shared uneasy introductions over whiskey, confessions spilling reluctantly like the rain outside. Alexander revealed enough about himself to intrigue her. The empire, the lavish lifestyle, the isolation. Her laughter was sharp, but it broke through his barriers. Then came the confrontation. "You think you've got it all figured out, but your money can't wash away your sins," she snapped, eyes blazing. Her voice cut through the noise, and Alexander felt the weight of her words settle over them like a thick mist. "Guilt has a way of sticking, doesn't it?" he replied quietly, the tremor in his voice betraying him. Just as the tension thickened, a phone buzzed on the bar, both of them turning simultaneously. The message chilled him, a cryptic warning that twisted together their histories, a note promising that the past would rise again, threatening everything they sought to escape. The air crackled with an unspoken realization, and their vulnerabilities spilled into the open air between them, heavy and pungent. The weight of their unacknowledged pain hung like a storm cloud, eclipsing the new connection they had forged. As the bar fell silent, the bartender glanced their way, curiosity lighting up his eyes. Outside, thunder cracked, a prelude to chaos that weaved them together in the flickering lights of uncertainty. "Are you ready to face the truth?" Mia whispered, the challenge hanging in the air like a breath held too long. And just like that, they stood at the crossroads of destruction and new beginnings, each carrying the shadows of their past. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without warning. Just take a quick look at the red button down there to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any of the exclusive content coming up. And since you're there, drop that powerful like that. Really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, Which city are you watching from? I love getting to know each amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. The air hung thick with tension, each heartbeat a drum in the silence that followed Mia's question. Alexander wasn't ready to face the truth, not just yet. He opened his mouth, ready to defend his carefully built walls. But then, chaos erupted outside. A deafening crash shattered the bar's fragile calm. The windows rattled as a bolt of lightning lit up the stormy sky. Then, it happened. A figure stumbled through the door, soaked to the bone, arms flailing. It took a moment for everyone to process the scene. "Help!" The voice echoed, frantic and panicked. Mia's eyes widened, and Alexander felt a jolt of fear. He leaned forward in his seat, the tension in his body coiling tighter. The newcomer collapsed at the bar, gasping for breath, and it took mere seconds for recognition to grip Alexander like a vice. It was Eric, his former partner in crime, and someone who had crossed lines Alexander swore he would never cross again. The years apart dissolved in an instant, all the pain and betrayal flooding back like the rain outside. "Mia, you've got to listen," Eric gasped, eyes bulging with fear. "They're coming for you." "What are you talking about?" Mia shot back, alarm coursing through her veins. She was strong, but the gravity of Eric's words washed over them both like a cold wave. Alexander's heart raced. This wasn't just about him anymore. Mia's past was about to collide with the present in a way he hadn't anticipated. "You need to get out of here," he urged, but Eric shook his head, sweat oiling his skin. "No, they're here," he choked out. "I barely made it." The murmuring of the crowd intensified, eyes darting from one figure to the next, anticipation crackling like the storm outside. Mia clenched her fists, pushing through the panic. "Who?" she demanded. "They know everything, saw you get released, traced the money. The Empire, they want it back." Each word was a painful stab, slicing through the atmosphere of the bar. Alexander felt his world tilt. Everything he had built stood on shaky ground. The Empire, the wealth, all threatened by the shadows of a past he thought he had buried. "Why should I believe you?" Mia's voice trembled. "You abandoned me." "Because I'm not here for you. I'm here for my daughter." His words hit like a punch. A daughter? The room spun as realization sank in. Mia's eyes flickered with horror and a trace of something else. Hope, disbelief, a connection too volatile to comprehend. "Your daughter," she whispered, the air between them thick with tension. You have a child?" Suddenly, the front door swung open again, revealing shadowy figures silhouetted against the storm. The bar fell silent, the buzz of midnight chaos replaced by an uneasy cold. Everyone froze. Faces turned to panic. The figures stepped forward, a familiar glint of authority in his eyes. "Alexander Chase," the figure called, voice smooth as velvet, yet suffused with menace. "It's time to face your past." Alexander's blood ran cold. The past wasn't just creeping back, it was crashing through the door, demanding renegotiation and reckoning. Mia's breath hitched, recognition dawning. "What's going on?" she shot at him, confusion and fear intermingling in her gaze. They stood there, trapped in a moment of impending doom, the air electric with fear. The truth had come barreling back, dragging secrets and shadows with it, leaving nothing untouched. This wasn't just a night of unexpected connections anymore. It was a reckoning, and neither of them was prepared for the storm that awaited. The bar stood frozen in time as the shadowy figures advanced, darkness pooling around their feet. Alexander's heart raced. He locked eyes with Mia, Confusion and determination mingled on her face. The atmosphere crackled with fear, merging the storm outside with the brewing chaos inside. "Alexander Chase," the figure called again, voice steady but dripping with authority. "Time to face your past." "Who the hell are you?" Mia shot back, feet planted firmly as if to ground herself against the impending storm. But before the figure could respond, the air hummed with an unearthly chill. Suddenly, the lights flickered, plunged the bar into semi-darkness, and then the power stuttered back to life. The heavy thud of boots filled the silence as more figures shuffled in, revealing tactical gear and hard expressions. No nonsense. Operatives who rushed aside the stunned crowd. "SWAT! Everyone on the ground!" one shouted, and the world erupted in panic. Glasses shattered. Chairs scraped. Mia and Alexander instinctively shielded each other, hearts pounding louder than the storm. "Eric, what's going on?" Mia screamed, but Eric was frozen, eyes wide as he clutched his daughter's picture. The image much more than a simple connection. She was like a lifeline in a stormy sea. "Alexander, you've got to listen. They know everything," Eric stammered, his body intense with fear. "You're being set up for something bigger." "Set up?" that word echoed. Mia's eyes darted from Eric to Alexander, questions swirling like the tempest outside. Suddenly, the lead agent stepped forward, eyes narrowing. "We have a warrant for the arrest of Alexander Chase for fraud, conspiracy, and—" But another figure, a woman, elbowed her way through. "No, you need to listen. You've got it wrong." Her voice cut through the confusion, leaving everyone in stunned silence. All eyes turned to her, and an unexpected recognition flickered in Alexander's mind. "Jenny?" he gasped, pulse quickening. The woman, his high school girlfriend, the one who vanished after the allegations surfaced, the one whose betrayal haunted him like a shadow, was standing there, drenched and determined. "Yes, it's me. Let him go. You don't understand." Her voice trembled, and that's when Alexander noticed the bruise blooming on her arm. "Jenny, what are you doing here?" he whispered, shock coating every word. "I had no choice. They came for me too." "They're framing you, Alex, just like they did to me." Tears glistened in her eyes, a painful reminder of everything he had once loved and lost. But before he could respond, the tension tipped. Someone screamed from the back. A glass shattered. The SWAT team surged forward, and panic erupted again. The bartender dived for cover. Customers shouted and scrambled as chaos reigned. "Back off!" Alexander yelled, adrenaline igniting his fear. "I swear I didn't do anything. You're making a mistake." "I didn't mean it to go this far," Jenny confessed, shaking, but her voice drew all focus. "I thought I could fix it. I thought I was protecting you." Mia stepped closer, eyes fierce. "Protecting him? How?" Suddenly in the chaos, Eric clutched his daughter's picture tightly, voice rising. "It's not just Alexander. They're using us all. They want him to fall so they can take her." The air shifted. The weight of those words hung thick, entangling them all in a web they couldn't see through. Alexander felt a knot twist in his gut. Was this all just a massive game orchestrated by shadows he once thought he'd outrun? "Mia, you've got to trust me," he cried, desperation spilling over. But doubt danced in her gaze, mingling with fear. Outside, thunder rolled much louder, a harbinger of the storm within. And then, before anyone could catch their breath, a gunshot rang out, echoing through the tumult like a death knell, cutting their lives into fragments. Screams erupted, confusion swirled, and for that split second, reality shattered. In that moment, everything changed again. Alexander looked around, heart racing. Did they just dive deeper into danger? What secrets lay hidden in these connections bursting open? The storm had arrived, and now it was more than just weather. It was chaos rising, threatening to sweep them all away. As the smoke cleared and silence loomed, one question lingered. Who could truly be trusted? The gunshot echoed, reverberating through the tense air. Time slowed. The world narrowed to the booming chaos around them. Alexander's heart raced, fear gripping him like ice. Panic painted faces around the bar in shades of horror. "Get down!" someone screamed, but there was no time for that. Smoke drifted, blurring the harsh lights, and Alexander felt Mia's hand grip his arm. Her touch was grounding, yet every heartbeat pulsed with dread. He could see the outline of the SWAT agents moving, shadows in a nightmare. His mind raced. This wasn't just about him anymore. Mia's eyes were wide, searching him for answers. "What the hell is happening?" she shouted. But he didn't have an answer. Not now. Not when chaos ruled their reality. Jenny stood trembling, her plea hanging in the air. "You don't understand." She looked at Alexander, desperation mixing with something darker. "They weren't supposed to find you. I thought we could save you, save everyone." "Save who?" Alexander pressed, each word a struggle. Eric interjected, clutching the picture tightly. "They want you to take the fall for a crime you didn't commit, but it's bigger than you." And just then, amid the confusion, another sound broke through, the unmistakable roar of an engine. A motorcycle screeched to a halt outside, tires thrumming against the rain-slick pavement. The door swung open, and a figure strode in, helmet under one arm, drenched in the storm. "Get away from him!" the newcomer shouted, voice sharp, cutting through the chaos. Everyone froze. The crowd responded with gasps, shifting as the figure unveiled themselves. Alexander felt a jolt of recognition. It was Sarah, his estranged sister, her face bruised, determination blazing in her eyes. "Sarah?" he choked out, the name almost foreign on his lips. "What are you doing here?" "I came to help," she cried, voice raw. "They've got eyes everywhere. I couldn't let them get to you." The SWAT agents turned, startled by this new threat. One stepped forward, but Sarah held her ground, fiery and fierce, pointing a finger at Alexander. "You're not taking him without going through me first." She barely finished her sentence when the world ignited again. Another shot rang out, and this time it was her. The crowd gasped as she recoiled, blood blooming on her shirt, disbelief painting her features. "No!" Alexander screamed, fear slicing through him like glass. He rushed to her side, but chaos reigned. Bodies shoved past him, reactions a flurry of alarm, disarray erupting like the storm outside. "Mia, Eric, help!" he called, desperation clawing at his throat. But Mia was frozen, fear paralyzing her. "What just happened?" she whispered, eyes wide. Nothing made sense anymore. Eric dashed forward, grabbing Sarah, cradling her in his arms, panic etched deeply in his features. "We need to get her out, now!" Suddenly, Jenny stepped forward, revealing something clenched tightly in her hand, a flash drive. This can prove everything. It'll show the truth." "What truth?" Alexander asked, heart hammering in his chest. But before she could answer, the lead SWAT officer surged toward them, intent on clamping down on the chaos. "Put the gun down. We need to take control." More thunder cracked outside, almost a response to the turmoil igniting within the Crooked Lantern. And everything, every thread binding them together, unraveled. Then, in a shocking twist, Sarah gasped, making eye contact with Jenny. You sold us out, didn't you?" Her words sliced through the atmosphere, sharp as a knife. "Are you serious?" Alexander felt like he'd been punched. "What do you mean? I thought, Jenny faltered, sweat dotting her brow. But horror washed over them all, uniting their gazes. Sarah's breath came in ragged gasps, the reality of betrayal settling like a lead weight. You played us, Jenny. All of us, Sarah whispered, voice small yet fierce. You knew. Suddenly, a new fear took root in the air, twisting the connections they had just started to forge. Panic spiraled. Who could be trusted? As the storm surged around them, the chaos within the bar mirrored that uncertainty. And in that moment, Alexander felt the ground shift beneath him. The truth was anything but clear now. It was murky, treacherous, and about to swallow them whole. What else were they hiding? What revelations lingered in the shadows? The air thickened with unanswered questions, and as the storm rumbled outside, it became painfully clear. This battle was only beginning. The gunshot echoed, feet frozen in disbelief. Sarah's gasp hung in the air like a ghost, and then chaos cracked the tension wide open. Everyone rushed forward, hearts pounding, terror and confusion colliding like a runaway train. "Get back!" shouted one of the SWAT agents, voice sharp and authoritative. But panic surged through the crowd, legs moving on instinct, scattering in every direction. Alexander's mind raced. He had to get to Sarah. "Stay with me, Sarah, please," he cried, cradling her, feeling the warmth of her blood seeping through his fingers. Each heartbeat was a countdown. Every second counted. "Mia, Eric, help!" His voice cracked, desperation flooding him. But Mia stood frozen, shock plastered on her face, eyes darting between the chaos unfolding and Alexander. "What do we do?" she whispered, fear clawing at her throat. "Take cover," Eric urged, his own body trembling. The shifting crowd was wild, a blur of wide eyes and frantic movements. "We can't just stay here." But amidst the chaos, Jenny was inching closer, her expression shifting, something dark flickering behind her eyes. "You don't understand. It's not what you think. I didn't sell anyone." Her words were frantic, chasing after them in a whirlpool of emotions. "Enough! Get on the ground!" The lead officer shouted again, but the group was a storm of confusion. A tremor shook through the bar when another scream erupted. It was a sharp, piercing sound, and suddenly a figure emerged from the back. This time it was different. In that sea of panic, a new face appeared. A woman with a wild look in her eyes, her hair damp and tangled. "Alex!" she screamed, voice thick with emotion. "It's me. I never thought I'd find you here." It was Emily, his old friend from another life, yet she looked like a ghost draped in desperation. "Emily?" His heart skipped, confusion crashing over him. "What are you doing here?" I know what happened," she gasped, looking at Sarah and then at Jenny, her eyes darting wildly, desperately scanning the room, like she was trying to piece together a shattered puzzle. "Know what happened?" Alexander echoed, trying to reach her, something in her tone spilling promise and peril. But before she could respond, another shot rang out from somewhere deep in the chaos. This one different. A low growl followed by heavy impacts against the bar. It wasn't just any gunshot. When it hit, everything stilled again. Then, the figure who had shot the gun stepped forward. A glimmer like a spotlight fell on him as the crowd parted in fear. It was the last person Alexander expected to see. "Dad?" he breathed, emotions crashing inside him like the storm outside. There stood his father, eyes dark and wild, face etched with a lifetime of conflict. "I warned you to stay away from this," he growled, voice thick and heavy with regret. "This is bigger than you, Alex. They know you're involved." "Why are you doing this?" Alexander shouted, everything he thought he knew twisting into a knot of disbelief. Because it's the only way to protect you, his father barked back, fists clenched, reflecting the darkness surrounding them. What the hell are you talking about? Mia shouted, rage boiling beneath her confusion. Just then, Sarah slumped, and everything slowed again. No, Alexander couldn't ignore her. He had to focus. Stay with me, Sarah. He turned back, but his father wasn't finished. They'll come for all of you unless we contain it. You have to trust me. But fear had taken root, spreading through the crowd like wildfire. Anger ignited in Alexander, a whirlwind of emotions. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. How could everything turn so quickly? The room buzzed with tension, but all he saw was his father, the man he had spent years trying to leave behind. Dark secrets danced in the shadows now, twisting relationships, revealing cracking walls that held their lives together. And in the echo of Sarah's last breaths, Alexander realized everything was about to change. Just then, another shot echoed through the bar, but this time from a different direction. The world spun around him as the walls closed the air, and the shocking truth about the betrayal unfolded like a dark cloud. Who could I trust, he thought, eyes darting between friends turned strangers. The storm outside roared, mirroring the turmoil inside his heart. Alex, Mia's voice cuts through, fear dripping from every syllable. We need to focus. We can't fall apart now. But just as he locked eyes with her, a loud explosion echoed through the bar. A flash of light momentarily blinded them, darkness swallowing the room. The sound shot through him like ice. What now? Everything changed in an instant. The air thickened, filled with smoke and confusion. Through the haze, a figure stepped forward, silhouetted against the chaos. Stop, the figure boomed, voice echoing like thunder. The room stilled. People dropped to the floor. Bodies huddled in fear. Tension crackled. Who was this new threat? The figure moved closer, and as the smoke cleared, Alexander felt his heart drop. No, it can't be. It was his mother. Mom? The word escaped him like a whisper, disbelief washing over him like a wave. Her face was drawn, eyes shimmering with regret, and something darker. Get away from him, she shouted, pointing an accusing finger at Sarah, who lay slumped in Alexander's grasp. She's the one who put all of you in danger. What? Sarah gasped, her breath ragged, pain radiating from her wounds. I didn't do anything, I swear. No, Alexander felt a rush of anger. You don't know what you're talking about. His mother took a step forward, voice urgent yet calm. Listen to me, Alex. They've come for a reason. She's mixed up in something dangerous. Mia, shaking now, pulled Alexander's arm. What are you saying? You think she's behind this? Come on, we have to protect each other. Alexander glanced around, hoping the others were listening. But all eyes were on his mother, frighteningly hypnotized by her presence. Mom, you left. You don't get to come back now and make accusations, he shouted. But inside, confusion swirled. What could be worse than what's happening now? A solemn nod from his mother sent dread coursing through him. You don't understand, she said, hands trembling. It was never about you. I had to protect you from a world that was closing in. Now, they will stop at nothing to reclaim what's theirs. Before Alexander could react, the bar door slammed open again. Wind howled in, gusts carrying the sound of distant sirens, piercing through the chaos. Another pair of figures appeared, one much taller and broader than the others. Step aside, shouted a voice he recognized, a man from his father's old crew. The tall figure pushed through the crowd, urgency etched into every line of his face. We're here to take control. Alexander's heart raced. Who sent you? Get down! The man pointed at the thrumming chaos, eyes darting nervously. It's a trap! Suddenly, a shot rang out, not from the SWAT agents, another reverberating, horrifying sound that struck like lightning. Everyone screamed, backs pressing against the walls, panic spiraling out of control. Get down, Mia yelled, impacting against Alexander as he shielded her from flying debris. The crowd scrambled, fear uniting them into a single organic mass, each body moving, colliding, desperate to escape. Shadows flitted through the mist as another figure emerged. "It's too late," shouted a woman, charging into the room, her hair wild, eyes fiery. "We're all marked." And just like that, everything trembled. Alex's heart pounded as he recognized her, his childhood friend, one who had vanished years ago for a life he could scarcely remember. "Claire! Claire, how are you here? What did you—" "No time," she shouted, cutting through the confusion. "Everyone is in danger. It's not just about Alexander." In the midst of this wildness, a gunshot rang out again, booming louder this time. But this time, it drew a different kind of attention. Silence fell, the crowd holding its breath. Eyes widened in disbelief, and as the figure behind the gun stepped forward, Alexander realized the chilling truth. It was someone he had never expected to see again, a face that shattered everything he thought he knew about his past. "Hello, Alex." The voice was smooth, cold. "Looks like we finally meet again." Shock rooted him in place. The past that had haunted him returned anew, weaving tangled threads through every connection. What now, he thought, panic buzzing in his veins. Everything I believed crumbling with one familiar face. The question lingered in the air, chilling to the bone. How many more were entangled in this web of deceit? Who among them was telling the truth? The storm raged on outside, and inside, the real nightmare has just begun. The figure stepped forward, voice cool and confident. "Hello, Alex," it said, and the weight of recognition crashed over him like a wave. It was Victor, a ghost from Alexander's past, his father's greatest rival, the one man who had vowed to destroy everything his family had built. The silence shattered like glass. Faces turned pale in shock. Breaths held tight. "You shouldn't have come back here," Alexander managed, anger coursing through him. "What do you want?" Victor's smile was sharp, cutting. "I want what's rightfully mine." His eyes scanned the chaos, lingering on Sarah, slumped against the bar. A wicked glint flashed. "And I want to see you grovel." But before Alexander could react, a loud crack echoed again, louder than before. The lights flickered above, and this time wasn't just from the storm outside. The ground shook, and the walls trembled. Then it happened. An explosion ripped through the back of the bar. The force knocked everyone off their feet, and the deafening roar swallowed the air. Debris rained down, shards of glass and wood exploding into the crowd. Screams filled the room, but Alexander only heard the pounding of his heart. "Mia!" he screamed, scrambling up. Panic clawed at him as smoke billowed in, mixing with the chaos. He shielded his face. "Stay together," Eric shouted, his voice barely cutting through the chaos. Shadows moved in the haze, bodies hitting the ground. Bodies that might never rise again. "Sarah!" Alexander called again, but she was out of sight. He glimpsed Mia, scraping herself off the floor, wide-eyed, horror painting her features. "Help!" she roared, but the noise swallowed her words. Victor moved with predatory grace, eyes wide, relishing the mayhem. "This is just the beginning, Alex. You have no idea what you're a part of." In the chaos, Jenny darted for the door, urgency digging deeper into every move. "We need to leave now," she shouted. But Victor laughed, a chilling sound that sent shivers down Alexander's spine. Then, as if the universe conspired against them, the door burst open. More figures stepped in, this time clad in black, faces obscured by masks. Their movements were swift, purposeful, an elite team ready for extraction. "Secure the perimeter," one barked, raising a weapon. And just like that, everything shifted again, a new storm brewing. Alexander's heart raced as he processed the scene. Who were these people? Did they know why Victor was here? Suddenly, a sharp cry pierced the air. Not a scream of fear, but a roar of pain. It came from Claire, who had collapsed, clutching her side. Blood pooled under her hand, her face twisted in agony. "Claire!" Mia screamed, moving toward her. But Victor stepped in front of her, smirk widening. "Stay back, she's not worth it." "No, get away from her!" Alexander shouted, every muscle in him tense, the air thick with desperation. But just then, the unexpected happened. A figure rushed in behind the assailants. It was Sarah, more pale than Alexander had ever seen. "Stop! You can't take him!" she gasped. But the words dissolved in the chaos. Suddenly, as if the world had paused, Sarah collapsed onto the floor beside Claire, shadows flickering across her face. Alexander felt the ground shift beneath him. "No, no!" Panic washed through him as he rushed to her side, his heart in his throat. "Don't!" Victor stepped forward, a twisted glee evident on his face. "The truth is a painful thing, Alex. She was never supposed to be here." "What do you mean?" Panic twisted in his gut, mind racing with possibilities. And just like that, the air grew heavy. "Sarah, she's not who you think she is," Victor hissed, savoring each word, eyes gleaming. "She's been playing you this whole time." The crowd gasped, shock igniting. "What?" Alexander felt the ground drop out from under him. Relationships unraveled in an instant. "She wouldn't." "Everything you've known has been a lie," Victor declared, his voice smooth as silk, yet burning with malice. "She's part of a plan that goes back years. Years you were kept from." In that moment, a heaviness descended, crashing around Alexander. Doubt coursed through him. All the trust, all the love he had built, began to crumble like ash. Who was Sarah really? The chaos continued, swirling around him like a monstrous storm, and he was left standing at the center, every truth turned upside down, desperate to figure out what was real. The walls echoed with unanswered cries, confusion rippling through the crowd. Alexander felt his heart pound louder. Decisions loomed closer than ever. Who are you gonna believe? Victor's gleeful challenge cut through the noise, leaving a razor-sharp question hanging in the air like smoke. Could he still trust anyone? In that moment, the entire world felt like it was crashing down all at once. How far had he fallen into a web of deceit? And could he find a way out before it consumed him? The figure stepped forward, voice cool and confident. "Hello, Alex," it said, and the weight of recognition crashed over him like a wave. It was Victor, a ghost from Alexander's past, his father's greatest rival, the one man who had vowed to destroy everything his family had built. The silence shattered like glass. Faces turned pale in shock, breaths held tight. "You shouldn't have come back here," Alexander managed, anger coursing through him. "What do you want?" Victor's smile was sharp, cutting. "I want what's rightfully mine." His eyes scanned the chaos, lingering on Sarah, slumped against the bar. A wicked glint flashed. and I want to see you grovel." But before Alexander could react, a loud crack echoed again, louder than before. The lights flickered above, and this time wasn't just from the storm outside. The ground shook, and the walls trembled. Then it happened. An explosion ripped through the back of the bar. The force knocked everyone off their feet, and the deafening roar swallowed the air. Debris rained down, shards of glass and wood exploding into the crowd. Screams filled the room, but Alexander only heard the pounding of his heart. "Mia!" he screamed, scrambling up. Panic clawed at him as smoke billowed in, mixing with the chaos. He shielded his face. "Stay together," Eric shouted, his own body trembling. The shifting crowd was wild, a blur of wide eyes and frantic movements. "We can't just stay here." But amidst the chaos, Jenny was inching closer, her expression shifting, something dark flickering behind her eyes. "You don't understand. It's not what you think. I didn't sell anyone out." Her words were frantic, chasing after them in a whirlpool of emotions. "Enough! Get on the ground!" the lead officer shouted again, but the group was a storm of confusion. A tremor shook through the bar when another scream erupted. It was a sharp, piercing sound, and suddenly a figure emerged from the back. This time it was different. In that sea of panic, a new face appeared. A woman with a wild look in her eyes, her hair damp and tangled. "Alex!" she screamed, voice thick with emotion. "It's me! I never thought I'd find you here." It was Emily, his old friend from another life. Yet she looked like a ghost draped in desperation. "Emily?" His heart skipped, confusion crashing over him. "What are you doing here?" I know what happened," she gasped, looking at Sarah and then at Jenny, her eyes darting wildly, desperately scanning the room, like she was trying to piece together a shattered puzzle. "Know what happened?" Alexander echoed, trying to reach her, something in her tone spilling promise and peril. But before she could respond, another shot rang out from somewhere deep in the chaos. This one different. A low growl followed by heavy impacts against the bar. It wasn't just any gunshot. When it hit, everything stilled again. Then, the figure who had shot the gun stepped forward. A glimmer like a spotlight fell on him as the crowd parted in fear. It was the last person Alexander expected to see. "Dad?" he breathed, emotions crashing inside him like the storm outside. There stood his father, eyes dark and wild, face etched with a lifetime of conflict. "I warned you to stay away from this," he growled, voice thick and heavy with regret. "This is bigger than you, Alex. They know you're involved. Why are you doing this?" Alexander shouted, everything he thought he knew twisting into a knot of disbelief. "Because it's the only way to protect you," his father barked back, fists clenched, reflecting the darkness surrounding them. "What the hell are you talking about?" Mia shouted, rage boiling beneath her confusion. Just then, Sarah slumped, and everything slowed again. "No!" Alexander couldn't ignore her. He had to focus. "Stay with me, Sarah." He turned back, but his father wasn't finished. "They'll come for all of you unless we contain it. You have to trust me." But fear had taken root, spreading through the crowd like wildfire. Anger ignited in Alexander, a whirlwind of emotions. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. How could everything turn so quickly? The room buzzed with tension, but all he saw was his father, the man he had spent years trying to leave behind. Dark secrets danced in the shadows now, twisting relationships, revealing cracking walls that held their lives together. And in the echo of Sarah's last breaths, Alexander realized everything was about to change. Just then, another shot echoed through the bar, But this time, from a different direction. The world spun around him. As the walls closed in, one question burned in his mind. Who could truly be trusted in the storm of lies and betrayals that surrounded them? Suddenly, the door swung open again, and in barreled a figure, short and unmistakably fierce. It was Lily, the young girl from the community center Alexander had volunteered at years ago. "Alex, you need to see this," she yelled, shoving a small tablet into his hands. "What? Just look! I hacked into their system." Her eyes sparkled with urgency. "You're being set up, and it's not just about you. They're coming for everyone." "What do you mean?" he asked, trying to process everything. A heavy silence fell as Lily projected the screen above, revealing files and documents that laid bare the web of corruption that had been spun around them. And there it was, images of them, snapshots of conversations, all connecting back to the true puppet master. Alexander's heart jumped. "Who is this?" "Your mother," she whispered, each word like a dagger. "She's been playing both sides." No one moved. The room fell into a collective gasp, and as the screen flickered, dread cooled in the depths of Alexander's stomach. "Mom," he stammered, reality shattering in an instant. The truth hit like a thunderclap. Everything he believed, every relationship spun from trust, now tangled in betrayal. The ground beneath him felt unsteady, trembling, and suddenly it all made sense. The lies, the secrets, the way everyone had been moving, the shadows creeping in every corner of their lives. His mother, the one woman he thought would protect him, had orchestrated the very storm he was caught in. "Lily, why didn't you tell me?" he managed, tears welling in his eyes. "Because I didn't know how." "Alex," she screamed back, voice cracking under pressure. Around them, people were still in shock. The agents were tense. The bar was heavy with disbelief. Everything shifted, leaving Alexander at a crossroads. Could he trust anyone in this storm? There in the dark, as shadows danced with uncertainty, the only thing he knew for sure was that he had to find out what other truths lay buried beneath layers of deception before it consumed everyone he cared about. Just as Alexander tried to process the weight of Lily's revelation, something shifted in the atmosphere. The lights flickered ominously, the weight of dread heavy in the air. Chattering whispers filled the room, curiosity mixing with apprehension as everyone turned to find the source of the tension. "Look," shouted Eric, pointing to the bar top, where the flicker of a small screen framed in glass illuminated faces painted with shock. The projector's light formed a distorted image, playing out a hidden recording that hinged on every terrible secret. The footage showed people in suits, faceless but imposing, their voices twisted in secrecy. They discussed plans, strategies, and then a name echoed through the air, slicing through the chaos. "Project Eclipse." "What's that?" Mia whispered, her voice shaking. "What does that mean?" "Everything," Alexander replied, his heart racing. He pieced together bits of a past long buried, a reality his mother had kept from him. Suddenly, a burst of movement at the entrance caught everyone's attention. A woman burst through the door, panting, hair wet from the rain. She was disheveled but determined. "Take cover," she screamed. "They're coming for you all." With her words, the atmosphere shifted again, bone-deep dread seeping into every corner of the bar. The woman stepped forward, her eyes wide with panic. "I'm here to warn you, Alex." "Who are you?" questioned Alexander's father, disbelief and anger washing over him. But she didn't answer him. "The truth, it goes deeper than any of us know. Your mother is not who you think she is." The crowd held its breath, uncertainty washing over them like a cold sweat. The woman turned her gaze to Alexander. "Your family is tangled in a web of lies." His mind spiraled, thoughts crashing together like waves. "What do you mean?" he demanded. Just then, a deafening bang echoed, this time from outside the bar. The door swung open again, revealing shadowed figures, faces hidden. Their movements were precise, marching in unison, a dark tide ready to engulf them. "Security, get on the ground!" a voice roared, cutting through the tension. The mood shifted. Chaos erupted again as people rushed to escape, scrambling for safety. Yet, amid the tumult, the mysterious woman pushed through. "You need to listen. I know what's happening." "What are you talking about?" Alexander yelled, trying to piece together what was happening. She leaned in closer, urgency flickering in her eyes. "This goes back years. Your mother, she's been part of something much bigger. It's a setup to protect an empire that protects them. But it's not just financial. There are lives at stake." Each word landed heavy in the air, unraveling threads he'd woven into his past. But before he could react, the crowd erupted in screams. The men in tactical gear surged forward, barricading the exits. It felt like the walls were closing in. Alexander's eyes darted to Sarah, who lay still on the floor, shifting with panic. Mom, he stammered, facing the woman at the center of it all. "If this is true, what did you do?" "I did what I had to, Alex," she said, desperation spilling from her voice. "I saved us from something worse. You weren't supposed to find out." Suddenly, in a shocking twist that none of them saw coming, one of the masked figures flicked his wrist, and the mask fell away to reveal Sarah's identical face. "Welcome to your truth, Alexander," she said, a twisted smile spreading across her features. "This is just the beginning." Alexander felt his body go numb as the room spun, the world crashing down around him. What? His heart raced as every previous assumption frayed at the edges. The real fight wasn't over secrets. It was over a legacy he never wanted, an identity crafted in betrayal. The crowd gasped, whispers tangled in fear and disbelief. Everything he knew lay shattered at his feet, unraveling like a long-held dream. "Who are you?" he managed to utter, voice trembling. "Let's just say it's time for you to decide who you must trust," Sarah said, her voice now smooth and laced with something dark. "And it's time for your mother to pay the price." As she stepped back, darkness swallowed the light. Dread settled in, and all Alexander could think was, how had he been so blind? The storm inside wasn't a past returning. It was a battle for everything he thought he knew. And the question echoed, heavy on the air. Who could he trust now? As the room spun and shadows danced menacingly, Alexander felt a great heaviness settle on his heart. "What do you want from me?" he asked Sarah, the one he thought he knew. The atmosphere crackled with tension, and every second stretched into eternity. "You know what I want, Alex," she replied, her eyes glinting with something darker. "Everything I've done, it was to protect you." "Protect me?" he echoed, disbelief etched into his voice. "You've betrayed everything we've built together." Panic surged in his chest as he glanced around. Mia, Eric, and Lily were all watching, faces pale with fear. The bar was a cacophony of confusion. The SWAT members shouted commands, but the crowd was frenzied. People shoved each other aside, some hitting the ground to shield themselves. In that chaos, something broke within Alexander. He turned to his father, the last thread of hope still clinging to that weak bond. "Do you get this? They're all here because of your secrets. You let this happen." His father's eyes darkened, anger bubbling beneath the surface. "I did what I had to do, Alex. You don't understand the danger." "No, you don't understand. You've put us all in danger." He felt his voice rise, the urgency tasting bitter on his tongue. Time was running out. Victor chuckled, eyes glinting with malice. You all think you can escape this? You're in deeper than you know. Just then, the mysterious woman stepped forward again. This isn't just a family feud. It's about them, she said, nodding toward the masked intruders. They'll stop at nothing to eliminate you. The weight of those words sank in, and a sudden clarity crashed over Alexander. They weren't just defending against shadows. They were fighting for their lives. Everyone, he shouted, gathering the crowd's attention for a brief moment. We can't panic. We need to work together. But before anyone could respond, another explosion rocked the bar. The ceiling creaked, and debris fell like hail, forcing people to shield themselves. Out, now! Eric shouted, his tone brooking no argument. People surged toward the exit, fear striking them into urgency. Ignoring the chaos, Alexander grabbed Sarah's arm. We need to go, he said firmly. She hesitated, her eyes wide, guilt and fear battling within. I swear I didn't mean for it to happen this way, she whispered, tears glistening. For a moment, he could see the girl he once loved beneath the facade. But time wasn't on their side. He felt the urgency pull at him. It doesn't matter. Just come on. Racing towards the door, they pushed through the throng of people desperate to escape. The rain poured in sheets outside, but the storm felt like a comfort, washing away the chaos behind them. Once outside, they stumbled onto the slick pavement, breaths coming in gasps. But before they could fully breathe in relief, the shadows returned, closing in like a tidal wave. Get down, someone shouted. But it was too late. The masked figures advanced, armed and ready. In that moment, Alexander felt every ounce of fear ignite into resolve. We won't let you take us, he yelled, standing between the crowd and their attackers. With a single focused breath, he reached deep within, realizing that this wasn't just about survival. It was about standing up for truth and for everyone around him. Together, he shouted, rallying the group, and as one, unified by desperation and courage, they charged at their adversaries. Ready to reclaim their lives, the night flourished with uncertainty. But in the heart of danger, their bonds forged into something unbreakable. They surged forward, determined. In this storm of chaos, they would fight. But this was just the beginning. Before you go, listen up. You need to subscribe now to this channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep this community alive. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. And don't wait one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans understand the importance of supporting the channel, so make it count. Let's keep this story going together.